Hello, our next Greek myth is Jason and the Golden Fleece. King Aeson of Thessaly grew tired of being a king. He gave his crown to his brother Peleus on one condition. When Aeson's son Jason became old enough to rule, Peleus would return the crown to him. However, when Jason grew up, his uncle was unwilling to step aside. "You are still not ready," Peleus told Jason. "You need to perform a great deed. Do something to prove that you are worthy." "I know what I can do," said Jason. "I will bring back the Golden Fleece from the land of Colchis. No one would challenge my right to rule if I was able to do that." Jason summoned the bravest young men in Greece to join him. Some became heroes of legend. Theseus arrived, as did Orpheus and Heracles. So many answered the call that Jason had to build a special ship to carry them. He named the ship Argo. He and his companions called themselves the Argonauts. After many adventures, the Argonauts arrived in Colchis. They anchored in the harbour and went ashore to pay their respect to Aeetes, the king. "I have come to bring the Golden Fleece back to my country to prove that I am worthy of being king," Jason told Aeetes. "You are welcome to try," Aeetes said. "Many have come before you. They all paid with their lives. You must face the same challenges as they did. I have 2 fire-breathing bulls with brass hooves in my stable. Your first task is to harness both to a plough and sow the dragon's teeth." "I am not afraid," said Jason. "I will meet every challenge and overcome them all." The people of Colchis gathered on the hillsides to watch. The Argonauts feared for Jason. They wanted to help, but they knew he had to face the challenges alone. The bulls came rushing out. They tore up the ground with their horns and burned the grass with their fiery breath. Their brass hooves clattered over the stones. Jason took a handful of grain as he walked towards them. He spoke gently and without fear. As the bulls came closer to smell the grain, he stroked their heads and scratched them between their ears. The bulls stopped stamping and snorting. They allowed Jason to place the yoke on their shoulders. He hitched them to the plough. The bulls pulled the plough back and forth across the field, following Jason's commands as if they were tame oxen. The Argonauts and the people of Colchis cheered for Jason. Aeetes came forward and handed him a leather sack. "You have passed the first test," he said. "Now for the second. Are you ready to sow the dragon's teeth?" "I am," said Jason. He took the sack and prepared to begin. Suddenly, a voice cried, "Stop!" It was Medea, Aeetes' daughter. Jason's good looks had caught her eye when he had arrived in Colchis. Now his courage had won her heart. "He is so brave. I want to wish him good luck," Medea told her father. "Do as you please, but don't be long about it," said Aeetes. Medea threw her arms around Jason's neck and pretended to kiss him. At the same time, she whispered into his ear, "You can never succeed unless you have this." She pressed a small stone into his hand. "It is a magic charm. Dragon warriors will come out of the ground. Fight them as long as you can. When you feel yourself weakening, throw this charm into their midst." Medea was a sorcerer who could call on powerful forces. "I can help you win the Golden Fleece," she said, "if you promise to take me with you when you sail for home." "I promise," Jason whispered. He walked across the ploughed fields, casting handfuls of the dragon's teeth between the furrows. The ground began to tremble as armoured men sprouted from the earth. These dragon warriors drew their swords and rushed at Jason. Jason fought back. For every warrior he killed, 2 more arose to take his place. Jason felt himself tiring. He could not fight much longer. Now is the time, Jason, Medea cried. Jason heard her voice over the screams of battle. He threw her charm into the middle of the dragon warriors. At once they turned away from Jason and began to fight one another. They hacked away until all lay dead on the field. Only one test remains, said Aeetes. In the morning you will meet the dragon and see if you can take the Golden Fleece from him. However, Medea had other plans. She went to meet Jason in the dead of night. You cannot wait until morning, she warned him. My father will never allow you to leave his kingdom. And you have little hope of overcoming the dragon unless I help you. What must I do? Jason asked. Tell your companions to prepare the Argo to sail. Make sure they are all aboard. All I ask is that you remember your promise. When you leave, take me with you. I surely will, said Jason. Medea handed him a small glass bottle. Now is the time to face the dragon. Hurl this bottle at his head. There is a potion inside that will make him sleepy. You can take the Golden Fleece as soon as he closes his eyes. Jason awakened his companions and told them to get ready. Medea would stay with them aboard the Argo. Meanwhile, Jason took the bottle and found his way in the dark to the sacred forest. The full moon, sacred to Hecate, ruler of the forces of magic and witchcraft, lit his way. Jason saw the dragon stalking among the trees. He saw the Golden Fleece hanging in the branches of an enormous oak. It sparkled in the moonlight. Jason stepped from the shadows. As the dragon rushed at him, Jason hurled the bottle at his head. The delicate glass shattered and the dragon stopped in its tracks. Its eyes began to close. The dragon lowered its head to the ground and fell fast asleep. Jason pulled the Golden Fleece down from the oak. Wrapping it around his shoulders, he ran to join his companions. Jason leaped aboard as the Argonauts pulled up the anchor. Medea summoned a wind that filled the sail, but they did not leave the harbour unnoticed. One of the watchmen sent word to Aeetes. The king set out after Jason in a swift war galley. Medea stood in the stern, watching in the moonlight as her father's ship came closer. She turned her face to the full moon and spoke these words. Great Hecate, ruler of the darkness, I summon you. The stars went out. The shining moon turned black. A dense cloud enveloped the Argo. When the cloud lifted, Aeetes' ship was gone. The Argo was hundreds of miles away. The Argonauts returned to Thessaly. The people celebrated their return with a great festival. Yet Jason could not rejoice. Aeson, his father, lay dying. Is there nothing you can do? Jason asked Medea. I can make him young again, Medea answered, but only if you have the courage to do what must be done. Medea built an altar of stones. That night, while Jason and his father looked on, Medea sacrificed a black ram to Hecate. She set a cauldron on the fire. As it began to boil, she danced around it, tossing in herbs, stones, and magic charms. Great Hecate, she cried, I, your servant Medea, call to you. Fill my potion with your power. Turn weakness into strength, old age into youth, death into life. She took a dry olive branch and dipped it into the bubbling cauldron. When she drew it out, the branch was green, covered in leaves and ripe olives. Medea handed Jason a knife. Now is the time. Kill your father, she commanded. Jason refused. How can I do such a terrible thing? Medea's eyes flashed with anger. You are weak. You said you had the courage to do what must be done. If you cannot do it, I can. She snatched the knife away and killed Aeson. After draining the old man's blood, she picked him up and placed him into the cauldron. She stirred the magic brew 3 times with the olive branch. After the third time, she pulled Aeson out of the cauldron and laid him on the earth. Jason saw his father transformed before his eyes. Aeson's snow-white hair turned black. His missing teeth grew back. The muscles of his arms and legs swelled with strength. Aeson rose from the ground. The old man had become young again. Jason kneeled before his father. "Take back your throne. You should be king." "No, my son, I am done with being king," Aeson said. "It is now your turn. I will demand that Peleus give you the crown." Jason took Medea's hand. "When I am king, you will be my queen." Medea pushed him away. "You did not have the courage to do as I asked. You are a coward, like all men. I do not need a husband. I do not need any man. I am wiser and more powerful than all the men who have ever lived." The next night, Peleus' daughter came to Medea. "Our father is old and weak, but he is still king. We do not want to give up the throne to Jason. Help us, Medea. Make Peleus young again so we can keep the crown." Medea promised to help Peleus' daughters. She led them to the place where she had built the altar. Peleus was too weak to walk. His daughters carried him. Medea kindled a fire. She sacrificed another ram and set the cauldron boiling. As the potion bubbled, Medea handed Peleus' oldest daughter a knife. "You know what to do," she said. The young woman plunged the knife into her father's body. "Give me the knife. I am just as strong as my sister." Peleus' second daughter took the knife and stabbed him again. The two daughters lifted Peleus up and dropped him into the cauldron. Medea gave Peleus' daughters an olive branch. "Stir the cauldron with this. Don't stop until I tell you." As they stirred, Medea prayed silently to Hecate. "Mother of darkness, take me away from this place. I want no more to do with treacherous, cowardly people." A chariot drawn by snakes appeared. Medea stepped inside. The chariot flew straight up into the night sky and disappeared. What of Peleus' daughters? They stirred and stirred the cauldron as Medea ordered, hoping to bring their father back to life. If they haven't stopped stirring by now, they're stirring still. The end.